They said he was made of stone, that no woman's eyes could melt him, no heart could reach him. His name was Daniel Cross, a man who built walls higher than the canyon cliffs he called home. He rode alone through the Arizona desert, where the sun burned the color out of everything but regret. Some men said he was running from something. Others swore he was chasing a ghost. In truth, he was doing both. Daniel had been a Union soldier once, a survivor of a war that tore his heart apart long before it ended. He'd buried too many brothers, lost too much faith. And when peace came, he found no home left inside him to return to. So he drifted from town to town, never staying long enough for roots, never trusting long enough for love. Women watched him ride through the dusty street stall, quiet, a shadow of something tragic. Some offered him meals, others offered smiles, but Daniel never looked back. He didn't believe in second chances, not for men like him, till the night the widow came. It was early spring 1882. The wind carried the smell of mesquite and rain. Daniel had set up camp along the San Pedro River, where the land dipped low and the stars felt close enough to touch. He'd just lit his fire when he heard footsteps, light, steady, not afraid. From the darkness emerged a woman wrapped in a woven Apache blanket, her hair streaked with silver and firelight. Her name was Nayeli. She spoke English softly, each word deliberate, like someone choosing which truths to share and which to bury. Her husband, she said, had died the winter before, a fever that took him before the snow melted. She lived in a small cabin not far from his camp, alone now, with a boy too young to remember what safety felt like. She came not for help but for trade. Dried meat for salt, a knife for cornmeal. Daniel offered both, wordless. But when she turned to leave, she paused, her eyes catching the flicker of his fire. "You live with ghosts," she said quietly. He didn't answer. She smiled, not unkindly, and walked back into the darkness. Days passed. She returned, sometimes with herbs, sometimes with silence. And every time, Daniel found himself listening more than speaking. She told stories of her people, of spirits that watched from the stars, of warriors who returned in dreams, of how even the desert bloomed after grief. Daniel told her nothing of his past, but somehow she seemed to see it anyway. One evening, when a storm rolled over the hills, she appeared at his camp again, soaked, carrying a small bundle of firewood. "You'll freeze out here," she said. He gestured to the fire. "I've lived colder nights." She studied him and asked, "You want a wife? Or just shelter?" Her words cut sharper than the wind. Daniel froze, not because of what she said, but because of what she saw. The loneliness he'd buried, the longing he'd denied. For the first time in years, Daniel didn't know what to say. That night, she stayed by the fire. "It's not close, not distant, just near enough to feel real," he told her in pieces, about the war, about the woman he once loved, who never waited long enough for his return, about the men he couldn't save. And she told him of her husband, a warrior who believed love was the only thing worth dying for. When the storm passed, silence settled, soft and strange. She rose to leave, but he stopped her gently. "I don't know what I want," he said. "But I know I don't want to be alone anymore." She didn't answer. She only nodded and walked into the dawn. Daniel. For weeks after, Daniel stayed near the cabin. He helped repair the roof, hunted rabbits, fetched water. Nayeli never called it love, and he never dared to. But something in the air between them changed. Her son, a quiet boy named Tony, followed Daniel everywhere, curious, cautious, like a colt learning to trust. And slowly, Daniel began to feel something he hadn't felt since before the war. Purpose. Until one afternoon, the world reminded him that peace in the frontier was always borrowed, never owned. A band of outlaws, for men, drunk and desperate, came riding through the valley. They found the cabin before Daniel returned from the river. By the time he heard the screams, it was too late. He charged back, rifle in hand, his horse tearing through the brush like thunder. The gunfire echoed off the canyon walls. When the smoke cleared, 3 men lay dead. The 4th fled into the desert, never to be seen again. Nayeli was wounded, a bullet through the shoulder. Her son clung to her, trembling, silent. Daniel knelt beside her, pressing his hand to the wound, whispering words he hadn't spoken in years, prayers, apologies, promises. She looked at him, her eyes steady, and said, "Now you know." Love isn't shelter, it's fire. You keep it, you burn. Then she fainted. She survived, barely. For months, Daniel stayed, tending to her, watching over the boy. When she could finally stand again, she said softly, "You saved us." He shook his head. "You saved me first." She smiled. The kind of smile that comes from knowing life will never be easy, but still choosing to live it. In the years that followed, Daniel built a small ranch near the river. He never called Nayeli his wife, but everyone knew better. They raised Tony together, taught him how to ride, how to pray, how to forgive. And when travelers passed through and asked about the quiet man who once lived alone, folks would say, he used to refuse every woman, till an Apache widow asked him a question he couldn't forget. They say some questions don't need answers, only courage. Because sometimes the heart doesn't need a home, it just needs someone who sees it. And out there in the desert, under the same wide sky that once held only ghosts, Daniel Cross finally found his. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold legends and forgotten souls of the frontier, only on Wild Tales Storytelling.